I'll have a good recording because I've got like an AT2020 here, so I can just
nice
do my audio very. Let me just move this mic a little bit closer. Okay, let me get my thing up. Let's see. Audacity. All right. It's booting.
Okay, I guess you laid down the
yeah. We're ready
the
to go.
shizzle. Okay.
Yeah. I've got the slate.
Okay. Just rolled off.
Okay.
Tour.
Hi, Matt. Nice to meet you, by the way. I'm Jake.
Yeah, I'm Matt. Good to meet you. Thanks for joining us.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Okay.
Let me get my recording good. Okay, AT2020, mono, headphones, USB. Okay, let's see how that sounds. Check. 1 2 1 2. Microphone check. Okay, little bit loud. Check. Okay, that's peaking. Oh, it's way up. That is so
Yeah,
weird.
I think Audacity's changed something because it always sets my microphone to max now.
Yeah, that is so weird.
I think we've had a few people with that problem, haven't we?
Yeah,
'Cause
they
Mark
must
was
have
complaining
updated it or
about that too.
Check.
the CIA wants to hear you.
1 2 Check. Okay, that's a much nicer looking wave. I could even go down a little bit more.
I do insane amounts of editing anyway. Less insane than I used to, but.
Okay, now let's do check. 1 2 1 2. Check. Microphone check. All right, we are in business.
Okay. In the year 1973, America lost its...
Sorry. Let me record, and then I'll clap for you just so you got it. Sorry. I was just deleting my amazing intro, by the way. But hold on, let me delete my former way.
Yeah, that's how I start everyone, with this nice sci-fi in the year.
Now I know it's a year.
All right. Let's see.
Never quite know what year you'll go for.
63. Okay, I am now recording. Should we do a clap at like 3 2 1 and then clap on 0?
All right.
If you want.
All right. 3 2 1.
Cool.
Right.
Brilliant. Let's roll.
I think Matt usually just lines it up by the Zoom, but that'll give us something to work with. Okay. In the year 1973, America lost their first war. If you don't count their involvement in the Bolshevik War, or their involvement in a war in China, or the fact that half of them lost the Civil War, or the fact that 1812 was inconclusive.
Well, they don't teach us that in American high school.
Oh, I bet they don't teach you ever lose wars. You make tactical withdrawals.
I mean, even the Civil War, the other side is like, it's not over. The South will rise again.
Yeah.
I think I've told you about the Deep South laser shows where they have the Confederate generals like laser march off the mountain.
Yeah, you've told me about that one.
Yeah, we don't lose wars in the States, man. We didn't lose Vietnam. We just left. We just abandoned it. They said in the movie.
Yeah. And what movie is that?
That is, we have Captain Marvel, Nick Fury, and Loki going to Skrull Island.
Labored.
Yeah, I was thinking about that on the crowded train.
Okay. Anyway, I'm Luke.
This is Matt. It's Skull Island, of course.
Yeah, welcome to our sci-fi sanctuary on Skull Island. And because we're dealing with a real dumb monster movie, I thought we'd get a special guest in. We're joined by Jake Rockatansky. Jake, say hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me, gentlemen.
No problem at all.
I think we have to wait 10 minutes to say what podcast he's from.
Yeah, we actually do. Yeah, or the algorithms will come and get you. It is a podcast that studies a conspiracy movement that may or may not have had a notable presence at the storming of the United States Capitol just last week.
I'm so happy that sentence didn't end in may or may not be true.
So you've had some adventures in the past week, have you, or two?
Oh yeah, it's been crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think even we on the show were surprised to see the amount of QAnon merch worn by the people who stormed the Capitol. So we've just sort of been scrambling to try to break it down and see how we got to this point. I don't think even Travis, who is our resident QAnon expert on the show, thought that it would get as bad as it has, but here we are, and we'll continue to monitor it going forward.
Even as a listener, it's been a weird experience over the past, I think I've listened for about a year and a half, going from like, oh, here's this weird little thing on the internet, to like, this is something my mum brings up, like unprompted. Right. She'll mention QAnon, and it's, how's this happened?
They were in the merch. That's not cool. That's like you when you go to a concert, you don't wear the band shirt.
Right.
Well, I think in this kind of concert, I think you want to wear as much of the band's gear as possible, and if you've got flags, even better.
Unless it's a mask that would actually keep people from like properly identifying you.
No. You want to reveal your face and say your name out loud multiple times.
Yes, you want to reveal your face. You want to say your name out loud, the crimes that you're doing, and you want to also reveal the crimes of everybody behind you in your live stream video, so that they can be identified by proper law enforcement officials.
I think the problem is, Matt, you're thinking of like cool bands from the 90s, not like being brainwashed into a BTS show, which is the actual mindset.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this wasn't like a Weezer concert, okay?
Last time I was in the States, I went to, not a Weezer, Deer Hunter. That's the last concert I saw.
Oh, Deer Hunter's great. Hell yeah.
Yeah. 2010. It was it was loud as hell. The Halloween show too. That was fun.
I feel like I had some friends that went to that show as well.
In Atlanta?
Oh no, we're in Los Angeles. So.
Oh, okay. This was an Atlanta show. I'm pretty sure I said yeah. Because I went as Batman, but it was just like I had like the black devil ears and like a cape and a red shirt, and then I stood in the line to the restroom with the guy that was actually dressed as Batman and got in like an argument with him about who was Batman. It was great. Anyway, we talk a little bit about how the movie first came to us. In my case, I didn't see it in the theater, unfortunately. It was a pretty busy summer when this came out, wasn't it?
2017.
Yeah, let's see. It was 2017.
This is Dunkirk. I just feel like I was overlooked. I think there's a Mission Impossible out. I saw that. This one just kind of got under the cracks, and I don't know. I mean, I liked the Godzilla, but I guess I wasn't really on board with the Hollywood monster train. But yeah, once it came on video, I saw it, and I actually quite loved this one. So
yeah, same. I was telling telling Luke earlier that I believe the first time I watched Skull Island, I was on an airplane. Wait, hold on one sec. My audio is doing something weird where it's changing the volume of the recording. It's like moving the recording volume on its own.
Oh yeah, mine's done the same. I remember I used to have this problem with Skype, where when Skype auto adjusts, it also adjusts your Audacity. So it might be that Zoom's doing that.
I wonder. Oh, maybe I can lower on Zoom. Let me just have a look really quick.
I've gotten away with just using the.
But we're sat further away, so I think we're getting away with it more. But...
Okay, I mean, if the Zoom audio is sounding good for you guys, it's just, it keeps going up to like 74, which is way too loud.
So Zoom has got an automatically adjust microphone.
There you go. That must be what it is.
Hopefully, it'll switch it off on the Audacity as well.
Yeah, let me do that. Let's see. Where the Zoom.
So where your microphone is, you got like a little arrow, and you can get your Audacity, your audio settings there.
But okay. Audio settings.
Yeah.
Yes. Automatically adjust microphone volume. There we go. That's gone, and I will take this down a little bit. There we go.
But yeah, you sound fine on our end, so there shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
A lot of time the Zoom is actually fine. It's us that sound a little funky sometimes. I just have to edit that way, but it'll come out. It'll come out.
I might be a little bit loud at least on my audio in the intro, but it seems to be good now.
No, I do this all like in Sony Acid, so I can do sliders and all that, and make it sound awesome. Not too ear piercing.
So you're the Julian of the
Well, he's he's like a lifelong musician, so.
Oh, great! Oh, cool.
Trust him with that stuff.
Yeah, the early podcast episodes I would do like in this. They're still somewhat impractical, but I used to send Luke screenshots of how impractical they were at the start. I started figuring out a few little tricks, but sorry,
okay, so
we were on a plane, I think, and you're watching this.
So I was on a plane, and when you're on a plane, you're a lot more forgiving because you're just so happy to be entertained by anything, that to take your mind off of your current flight pattern or whatever. And I started watching Skull Island, and I was like, oh, this is like totally up my alley, because I was like, there's multiple creatures. I was like, you got Samuel L. Jackson, you have John Goodman. I was like, oh man, because I can't remember what was the King Kong iteration before this. Was it Peter Jackson's one?
Peter Jackson one, yeah.
Which it was okay. I mean, I don't remember being like blown away by it. And to me, it's weird. A big giant gorilla, like, it's cool, but it's not my preferred type of creature. I like stuff with like, tentacles, like lots of teeth, reptilian style. Like, so this movie, big spider, like basically everything that you have in this movie is kind of like on my wish list of like what I want in a monster movie anyway. So I remember watching it on the plane and being like, okay, this screen is not doing this justice. I'm going to wait until I get a proper viewing device to check this out.
Okay. So yeah, I guess I'm the only one who saw it in theaters then, but I love monster movies. They're my number one jam. And like, I actually really did like the Peter Jackson King Kong back in the day.
Yeah.
But now that I look at it after this one, it's kind of pretentious. But
yeah, I just remember that it was very shiny, like that it was this kind of very bright movie. I mean, I haven't seen it probably since it came out. I definitely did buy and play the King Kong video game that was like the next gen title, I think, when like the Xbox 360 first came out. One of
the launch games, I think, for the 360.
Yeah, it was like a launch game for the 360, and I definitely got it, definitely played it. Probably didn't beat it, but
I mean, it was only like 6 or 8 hours long, so you might have done. But
yeah,
I remember that game because I remember it being the big hype. Everyone was playing it, and I played the Nintendo DS version.
Where the best graphics are. Yeah,
which I still hold is actually pretty decent.
Hey, you said you liked it.
But at the time, magazines were giving it like 20%.
What was the like DS version like? Was it 3D or was it?
Yeah. Like touchscreen and D-pad to like aim and move.
Yeah, wow. I never made it through a DS kind of FPS or that sort of game.
Yeah, I mean, I had like, I guess 15-year-old's hands, so I could do it. But I think if I tried to play it with adult hands, it would be pretty painful.
Yeah, I just had to get like this add-on for my Nintendo Switch that has grip, like actual like controller grips on the back of it. Yeah, because otherwise I was just like, I got the Switch Lite and it's like holding like a slightly bigger iPhone.
Right.
But yeah, I feel the pain.
So yeah, I was there on this film day one, and I walked in without really expectations.
Did you know the plot at all?
No, I knew it was going to be. I think I knew that it was set in the 70s and that it was going to have King Kong in it.
See, I just knew it was going to have King Kong in it. So yeah, right. Once they start going for the whole Vietnam, we'll say tropes. There's a good word. Vietnam tropes and the Hollow Earth and all that stuff. Yeah, I was like, hey, this is a lot. This has a lot more to it. And of course, we'll get into it in a minute. But like everyone's in this movie, so that helps.
Every time I watch it, I forgot how good the cast is.
Because
cast.
I guess a few of them since the movie has come out have like probably ticked a few boxes up in the in the Hollywood sweepstakes as well. So we notice more than we like. I don't think I noticed Brie Larson so much the first time, but obviously I do now.
I knew her from Scott Pilgrim, so.
Oh, I guess I knew her from Scott Pilgrim, but I didn't make that connection.
Hold on one sec. Sorry, guys. There's a speaker in the background. Let me just turn it off. I don't know what it is.
It's actually 24 minutes ago. That's interesting.
Sorry about that.
No,
Well, do you want to go ahead? You got your rundown ready to run down then?
Yep, I'll run it through the plot and then we can get stuck into those actors, I guess.
Yeah.
In World War II, a pair of fighter pilots crash on Skull Island. The fight is interrupted by Kong.
Hell yeah.
29 years later, in 1973, Bill Randa plans to search the island for monsters who live in a hollow earth. He ropes in Lieutenant Colonel Preston Packard, a war veteran who is bitter to leave Vietnam without a victory under his belt, SAS tracker James Conrad, and anti-war photographer Mason Weaver. At Skull Island, Packard's men begin dropping seismic explosives to map out the island and prove Randa's hollow earth theory. Kong smashes the helicopters and scatters the survivors. One group, led by Conrad and Weaver, recruits the American World War II pilot Marlowe and learns the truth about Kong, king of the island and protector of humanity. After trying to help one of his buffalo, Weaver even manages to befriend the big ape. The other group, led by Packard and Randa, vows vengeance on the ape and sets out to recover their heavy artillery. The two groups reconvene, and despite multiple warnings that the real enemy are the creepy skullcrawlers, Packard injures Kong. Smelling blood, the alpha skullcrawler returns and begins a rampage. Through a combination of gunfire, slices with a ship's rotor, and having its digestive system pulled out of its throat by the tongue, Kong and our heroes succeed in killing the skullcrawler. Marlowe is reunited with his wife and meets his large adult son for the first time. Meanwhile, Conrad and Weaver learn about the other giant monsters who will soon battle to prove once and for all who is king, so long as cinemas can open again without fear of very small monsters.
Okay. Wow, you gave like the post-credit scenes like 10% of your summary. I guess there's a lot in this one.
Well, this is peak. Every single studio wanted their own MCU.
Yeah.
Right. Wait, what happens again in the post-credit sequence? I can't remember.
It's Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson are just like in an interrogation room, and then they show them a bunch of cave paintings of like Godzilla and Ghidorah and Mothra and stuff.
Oh, to basically like this is the shared universe.
Yeah. Because like the next one we're getting is Godzilla.
You know what though? I like this shared universe much more than I like the Marvel shared universe. I'd much rather have a cabinet of creatures, to take out and have fight one another. Like, I'm way more into that.
I think a lot of people's minds are shifting that way because 10 years ago is all about Avengers, MCU. But yeah, I guess you get fatigued for a while.
And 30 films in, you're gonna start feeling it.
You just want some giant monsters.
I never was a superhero person growing up. I mean, I loved the X-Men cartoon that was hot in the 90s. I loved Wolverine. I loved Gambit. Batman was cool. But I never really got into, I guess I was a little bit more like DC than I was into Marvel. I was never into Superman or anything like that. So it's funny. I mean, it's probably because my dad wasn't a huge fan of all that. He was way more into monster stuff like The Thing, Aliens. That was what I grew up on. So makes sense.
I was a superhero kid, but I was way more of a monster kid.
Yeah,
I used to go and buy old like VHS tapes of like 70s Japanese Godzilla films. That was my favorite.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I'm so gutted that these films are not as financially successful as the superhero films because I want 5 of these a year. I don't care about Black Widow. Give me like Mothra
totally.
3.
Me too.
You gave me the ham-fisted one, just trying to throw on the Marvel names on this one. But here's one. We talked on Sunicon how there's like near the beginning of the movie there'd be like a sitcom with the boat going around.
Right.
This one has like an alternate version of Step Brothers, I think, in the middle of the movie with John Riley and his Japanese stepbrother with the mildly disapproving natives as they're trying to do their project.
Yeah.
So I was just watching. I want to see like that version of Step Brothers kind of shoehorned into this movie.
Well, we were talking about how this came out in a crowded year. This came out really close to Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And it's got that same feel where it's like it has serious moments, but it also has loads of comedy and it's so colorful.
Yeah.
And it's just, it really breaks away from that. Everything is just brown and gray and beige.
I do think that Taika Waititi and Jordan, the director of this film, are similar in that way, in that they're really good at finding this balance between these light, like genuinely funny moments, not your sort of like one-liners that you're used to for like 1 second of relief in your sort of standard sort of Marvel fare. But actually, kind of almost like that sort of Princess Bride type of tone where the comedy feels just as in place as some of the big action sequences. And that's tough to do. I mean, it's really hard to strike a balance between that stuff, especially in a monster movie.
Well, most of the comedy comes just from like the characters feeling like they know each other and are friends and are having a laugh.
Right.
Which helps as well, because this film has a big cast. And I couldn't tell you all their names, but I got a little feel for the personality of each one, so I cared whether they got eaten.
Right.
That looks kind of like Cotter gets eaten. I was like, no, Cotter's going bye. That sucks.
Yeah,
that's to do with the mustache. If people are not familiar with 70s sitcom, Welcome Back, Cotter.
Right, he got like the most ridiculous death where he's just dragged into the sky and sliced up like pterodactyls. That one really stuck with me.
Yeah.
And the chaplain, I mean, he was a little addle-brained, but yeah, he kind of got the guy that drank the spider's leg. Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Those are some gnarly deaths.
Yeah, there's some great deaths in this movie.
So I guess if we go into the cast, the one that always surprises me because I forget he's in this film is John Goodman.
Yeah. I when you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, I had John Goodman.
Yeah. Well, I'm watching it and the credits come up and the first name is John Goodman. I'm like, what? He is in this.
He's fine. He's good, but yeah. He is just sitting around and he gets the plot rolling and then he basically just sits around grumbling until he gets eaten.
Right. Yeah, he's in a good 2 or 3 of my favorite films because he's in this and he's in Speed Racer. So
there you go.
Yeah. Oh, I love Speed Racer. That's another one that people make fun of me for liking, but I think was very much ahead of its time.
Oh, it's so far ahead of its time. Every single film is ripping off Speed Racer now and doesn't even realize it.
Yeah, they don't even realize it.
My only thing is I saw it opening night in IMAX, and probably kind of up close. So when I think of Speed Racer, I think of migraines now. But that's nothing wrong with the movie. I do like the movie. I'm just like, I can't watch it again. I'll get a headache.
It's one of those films that if you're not watching it in HD, though, you're just not watching it.
Watching it close up in the IMAX probably was a bad call.
Yeah, John Goodman, he's mostly here just to deliver exposition with an actor with enough gravitas that you don't realize he's delivering exposition.
Right.
He's not he's a character.
Yeah, exactly. He's so good at doing that stuff. And I love seeing him in these kind of heightened, these heightened stakes. Because a lot of times the way that I feel like John Goodman is used is he is, kind of in these much smaller stories where it's, very grounded and very, true to, except for what was that? The Cloverfield, Netflix movie where he was
Cloverfield Lane.
The crazy guy in the bunker or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's actually so funny when he's kind of put upon and in over his head, and it's a really great dynamic. It's like your dad who was super excited to take you on this big camping trip, and then he didn't prepare right. He's in over his head. He doesn't exactly know how to get you out of it. It's really funny.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he was Fred Flintstone, right? So he's got that put upon dad energy down pat.
Right. He can do that.
And then if you want the Barney rubble, what do you get, Tom Hanks now?
I guess.
Kind of. Yeah, I guess.
A little more court.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the cast now. There's so many good people in this. There's Jason Mitchell who broke out at least for me in the NWA biopic. He was fucking great in that. John C. Reilly, Sam Jackson, Tom Hiddleston, Toby Kebbell, who's great. He was what Toby was also in? He was in that great Black Mirror episode where they have the Facebook contact lenses and they can watch each other's memories.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he was the star in that as well. Oh, and Richard Jenkins, who I love. He's like the senator at the very beginning who starts orders the mission. He's in he's in Step Brothers
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he's Step Brothers. Shape of Water he was in. So good.
Have you got Mark Evan Jackson there? Kevin from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh yeah. He's great.
seems he can only play one character, but I never get tired of seeing that character.
That's so many. You know what? And that's that. I think, you know, coming from somebody who's worked in Hollywood, a lot of times that is not the fault of the actor. It is the way that the Hollywood machine works. If you get kind of known for doing something and people like it, you know, they don't like to take risks in Hollywood. And so, you know, if you're like, oh, well, you're good at doing this one note thing. Well, that's what we're going to keep hiring you for over and over and over and over.
But it's like you hear stories about like an actor who's kind of fat and they get told like, no, don't lose the weight. They want you as the fat guy.
Right. Exactly. Right. It's like, don't get health. God forbid you get healthy and like do something for your own self. Like you won't be a commodity to us anymore.
Well, I guess Sam Jackson has become sort of the megawatt version of that. I mean, he gets that nice like Colonel Kurtz overlay here, so that's fun.
Oh yeah. There's this, Samuel L. Jackson always brings a certain amount of Samuel L. Jackson, but he does play characters and he does act.
He does act. I'm not disparaging. I'm just saying, like, in that Hollywood machine, there's definitely, you know, a major spot for Samuel L. Jackson, right?
He's great in this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's fantastic in this. He was written really well. He had a lot to do. They gave, you know, they gave him more than like you know, Matt was saying, kind of the usual, like, just do the Sam Jackson, you know, just do the, you know, no more snakes on this motherfucking plane or whatever. And no, it's great when he really gets to like stretch his legs too and play a real, you know, real human being.
Well, also, I feel like it's been a while since Samuel L. Jackson was the villain.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, I guess you could kind of, I don't.
But I mean, I think that's coming up on like 10 years.
So. Is it? Oh my!
Wait, did you? I was going to reference Unbreakable, but I guess he's not really the villain in that. Like in a weird way.
It's kind of the twist, right? Is that he's the villain? So, they did make Glass. So
they did make Glass, which I actually did not see.
Same, and I've heard that I shouldn't.
No, I think a lot of us just gave up completely after the last Airbender.
Well, no, because apparently Split was really good.
Yeah,
Split was good. I liked Split.
Yeah, I need to get on that one at least.
And I hold out hope for M. Night Shyamalan. I mean, he's made actually some of my, like, one of my favorite movies of all time is Signs. I love Signs.
I like Signs. We're big Signs fans here. So.
I thought that was like a really good kind of like alien invasion movie done in a way that was really clever. Oh, I don't mean, you know, he's canceled obviously, but an incredible performance from Mel Gibson in that movie. Probably one of my favorite Mel Gibson performances, maybe.
I was watching Lethal Weapon at Christmas, and I was just thinking to myself, like, I really wish Mel Gibson wasn't such a piece of shit, because I love his films.
I know.
Like, have you seen the one he's got coming out?
What Women Want? No, sorry, not the one coming out.
Oh, are you talking about the Santa where he's like, how the fuck does this shit get made? It's like, oh my God. Like,
he got a film coming out where he is Santa and he's hired by the U.S. military.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's Santa himself is like a like DARPA military operation or whatever, and he's like, and like that's actually what Santa Claus is. And there's like some kid, like a rich kid who like didn't get what he wanted for Christmas.
So he calls out a hit on Santa.
Oh yeah, so he puts a hit on Santa. It's like on the one hand, I'm like, this is a funny premise, like it's interesting, but then you see how seriously it's taken, and it's Gibson playing this like old grizzled like Santa Claus. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta see it, but I ain't gonna pay for it.
We're gonna get an acronym for Santa in that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh definitely.
I'm just sitting here trying to wonder what that could be, but
Saint and Naval Tactical Agent.
Okay, sure.
Not bad. Holy smokes, really not bad at all.
Your ass?
Yeah.
All right. It's I dragged my ass out of bed too early to come up with that quickly.
Yeah. I've been sat here drinking Monster for the past like 45 minutes, so I'm all good.
Oh yeah, I'm always slogging myself on trains.
I miss those days. I used to work as a quality assurance tester for a video game company, and I would drink Full Throttle, which is like the Coca-Cola version of Monster. It kind of tastes like Fruit Loops in a can.
Okay.
And I would drink like 2 or 3 of those a day. And I finally got to a place where I overdosed so much on caffeine that it gives me anxiety attacks now if I have too much. So I have to like, that's just a getting old thing.
When I was preparing to move to Japan, I used to work like 70-hour weeks in a restaurant. And I was the same, like 2 or 3 of them a day. But now it's maybe once a month I'll drink one if I have to wake up early for something.
Yeah.
I was getting to the point where it was just fucking me up.
I've never had an American style energy drink.
Don't get into them now at the age of like 41 or whatever.
No, I'm just tripping out that I've never had one.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's a bunch. There's like 15 different flavors of Red Bull now. There's 7 different kinds of monsters. They've even got ones now that have like CBD in them, so they're supposed to calm you down. I mean, hey, capitalism, baby.
Yep. I don't really go for the flavored ones because I feel like part of it is just the placebo effect of, oh, I'm drinking an energy drink, so now I'm awake.
Right.
So I need it to taste like medicine.
No, I
need it to taste like pure energy.
There you go. No, I wanted the Jack and Cokes. I didn't want the Red Bulls and vodkas.
Well, I used to work until 10 p.m. and then go out drinking, so I'd start with 2 Jaeger bombs.
Oh my god, I remember the Red Bull vodka days. That was not good. You could do some serious damage.
Yeah, that kills people because
it's really bad. I probably drank too many of those, more than I'd like to admit, in my mid to late 20s.
In Athens, Georgia, we had the Manhattan, which is the I guess the old version of the word hipster bar, where you could just do martinis and Moscow mules.
Oh yeah, that's everywhere in LA, by the way. Now, well before COVID, that's literally everything. You get a Moscow Mule in like a tin mug, and there's actually a couple cool absinthe bars that opened in LA that are pretty cool. But all that's gone now.
Because that blew my mind when I came to Japan the first time. Because the only place I'd seen a Moscow Mule before that was at one bar, and it's
quite a common one here.
It's a pretty standard one on the menu in Japan. So
yeah.
Where were we?
We were talking actors. I think the two we haven't really touched on Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know, but Tom Hiddleston originally auditioned for Thor, not Loki.
I did not know that.
I couldn't see it until this film.
Yeah.
And now I've seen him like jacked and badass and cutting up dinosaurs with a samurai sword. I'm like, okay, he could have been Thor.
Yeah, no, he's got a great intensity to him. Like I was saying, I don't know if before we jumped on, we were kind of just talking before, and I was saying that it was really cool to see him like not as Loki, because he's so ingrained, I think, in the modern brain as that character, and so to see him take on something else and really be different enough, different to the point where you do see these two separate characters. It was really nice.
Yeah, I think he's had a few big TV roles in the UK. So he's got a bit more like cultural cachet as not Loki, but yeah.
Yeah. In America, it's just like, oh, he's Loki.
Yeah, he's so different in this.
Yeah, he's so different in this. No, he's great. He's got that. He really captured, I think, what's so cool about this movie. It really does kind of have that kind of like 1930s, like, Tom Minks kind of like serialized kind of like action adventurer sort of vibe to it. Like it really like thematically and how the film looks, and the amount of sort of, like we were saying, creatures that sort of get introduced. Like it really does feel like a throwback to kind of the original source material where all of this monster stuff started, and he's really good at kind of locking into that role without it being like too cheesy, which I think you could very easily in the hands of a less capable actor, you could be like, oh man, super cheesy big buff guy, like.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's interesting. You saying that with Peter Jackson, they literally did try to throw it in directly into that.
Yeah, they have like the actor character who's meant to be like making fun of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. That's such a good point. Yeah.
This one I've heard there was a little bit of jumping around where they wanted to do it. There was an idea to put it like before World War I at some point. I think there were some drafts where it was actually going to be a little more modern day. And
that's cool.
I brought up Colonel Kurtz because I think sort of the Apocalypse Now river trip ended up being sort of like, hey, we can kind of vaguely do it that way, do the Vietnam thing, put like 8 Creedence songs on the soundtrack and do it. Yeah.
And I love that Vietnam scenery, so anytime I get to see that.
Oh yeah, the colored smoke, that's fun.
Yeah, and just the little mountains in the water and stuff.
Realistically, like, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but like when I write movies, because I write screenplays as well. That's how I do it. Is to me, a screenplay is so often like a puzzle. And it's really hard to kind of just, when you're putting a puzzle together, it's really hard to like imagine a piece out of thin air that's going to fit exactly the thing. So oftentimes what I'll do will be like, okay, like I need the scene from Aliens where Ripley comes out in the power loader, but different, but like that's where you'll start. Is you'll start kind of from the things that you love and the exact kind of vibe that it and how that piece will fit in, and then the fun really and the work as well is to change it enough that it falls in line with kind of what you want to say as opposed to what that filmmaker has to say. And I mean there are people I just straight rip shit because I'm like, no, I really like that scene, I'll do my version of it, and and hopefully nobody will notice.
I can vibe that from the musical direction. I was at first thinking, I can write okay, but I can't write a story to save my life. But yeah, just different art forms. That's
right.
Recombining things you like and trying to hide it so no one notices.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think it works totally for music as well. I mean, I dabble a little bit on guitar and piano and stuff. And so many times I've found cool chord progressions by trying to learn somebody else's song and stumbling on like a change or like, resolving on a different chord or altering it slightly and being like, oh, well, that's an entirely new song now. That changes it. And then kind of building off those foundations as well. So I think that there's some famous, like, I can't remember if it's, Woody Allen or somebody, but they're like, they were like, intelligence borrows and genius steals or something like that.
Yeah, I know the one you're getting at, but I can't remember either.
Yeah, we don't have time to remember quotes. 2021, too much going on.
Yeah, I once made an album where basically I needed to write the songs quickly, so it's just the Beatles' Revolvers with all the chords transcribed backwards.
Oh, that's awesome. Hell yeah.
I had this drum kit for about 3 weeks. I'm like, I need to write some songs real quick, backwards chords, and make some new ones.
Wow, I bet that sounded really cool, actually.
I'll make that out. That's the music I'll use for this episode.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
But that's what this movie does. There's nothing particularly new in it, but everything it's a cool recombination that I don't think we've really seen before.
No.
I don't think we've really melded the Vietnam movie with the monster movie quite like this.
No, and I don't think that anybody has ever seen kind of, what it does really well is it gives King Kong, which is in and of itself a very isolated kind of creature, right? I mean, he's, even just the sort of archetypal images of it, right? Like it's all alone on a giant building, swatting at planes, ever misunderstood. It actually provides context for where King Kong comes from. And I think in some ways that's kind of my favorite part about the movie is it creates, especially, Luke, listening to our podcast, one of the things that I love doing on the show, when we write our skits is creating these worlds. And I love, that's kind of my favorite thing about movies and media and entertainment is, and video games, too, is creating these worlds that provide context to the things that happen within them. And this movie actually did that really well, where you feel like you kind of understand a little bit better where King Kong comes from. What kind of things does he fight on his island, and what's a threat to him? Right. That's also just a really in a way it humanizes the creature, which you always want to do, to some extent anyways. It humanizes the creature because that there are threats to him as well. Like the crazy, like two-legged thing. What do they call it? Like the skull crusher?
Skull crawler? Yeah,
the skull crawler. Like
that's what Marlo calls it.
the beasts. And I was reading that is actually based off a creature from one of the
original
first
Kong,
King Kong.
It's
movie.
in it for like a 10-second shot.
Right, it's like a two-legged. Yeah. But I loved the creature design. I thought it was super cool. The two legs with like the kind of like tail. And I mean, while we're on the topic of creatures, I mean, have we moved on from cast to creatures?
Let's get on to the cast we actually care about, the cast of monsters.
Yes.
Yeah, moving on.
I love Brie Larson, but she's doing her usual Brie Larson
stuff. Saying that was the major one we didn't mention. So on to monsters and so forth.
Yeah, but she pulls it off handily, and she's got a tough job too, because you're playing the photographer and your sole purpose is there to sort of like capture what is going on. Right off the bat, you're kind of a more passive character right off the bat. So, that is a tough role to play.
There's also a part of me that feels like she's there because, it's a King Kong film. He needs to befriend a pretty blonde.
Yeah, complex blondes.
Because it's baked into the lore. Yeah, exactly.
But she does manage to feel like an actual character with agency rather than...
And they show her photographs, which are usually pretty good.
And what's cool about it, too, is that she's not this kind of just like damsel in distress with like zero depth whatsoever. Like, I really like that he gave her a purpose and made had a female character that wasn't just like, oh my God, totally helpless, grabbed by the monster. And because that's kind of what it was in Jackson's Kong, right? I mean, she was like a struggling actress. I can't remember. It's been so long since I watched
all of that was straight from the 30s one.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, then you can't blame it because in the 1930s, I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, you're
she had spoken lines, so that was good for
your awareness. The misogyny, in the 1930s, and especially in Hollywood. I mean, it still is bad, but at least they're trying to get better. But
in this one, they made it like she tried to help one of the buffalo, and that was why Kong befriended her. It wasn't just like he saw her and was like, "Oh, hello," like this.
Yeah, no, he saw her kindness, which is like an interesting turn. And so often I watch movies where there's no humanity in it. And I'm like, oh man, like you could literally just added one tiny scene, one line here and there. And to see them do that here and have that kind of turn, I respect it, But to the creatures, oh no, go ahead, Matt. What were you saying?
I was just going to throw out for Luke. Luke likes to basically state the character of Kong in each of the movies. Where is this on the Kong scale?
He's purely heroic in this one.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say so too.
So I guess we're going to do creatures that start with Kong. His so like the sort of the 70s, 60s version is clearly just man in suit.
Yeah.
And then Peter Jackson went too far the other way, and he's fully gorilla. He's like walking around on 4 legs. Whereas here it was a nice balance. He was stood upright, but he was still kind of hunched and didn't look like a dude.
Right.
Yeah.
So I really like this Kong design.
He's a little bigger in this one, isn't he?
Yeah, well, one of the reasons they didn't set it in modern times is because they wanted to have 30 years for him to be even bigger again when he fights Godzilla.
Right.
Yeah. Which is coming up.
Yeah.
Which I'm very excited for.
Yeah, I actually saw clips from it for the first time last night. They're like fighting on top of an aircraft carrier. It looks insane.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, the action in this is, just speaking it, I mean, obviously there's a lot of time in between for technology to advance between Peter Jackson's version and this, but so often in these kind of things, it really, it feels like it's just two computer things that are not, that are matted onto a real background. And it just, you don't feel the weight of these creatures. And I thought that what this movie did really well was really convey that. I mean, you feel the weight and the size, and that makes for the whole thing if you actually feel kind of in awe of this spectacle. So I thought that was something that they did really well. That
it does really a good job of keeping like the camera and the characters very grounded. Like, I think there's maybe only 1 or 2 scenes where it's just Kong and the monster. Usually there's some actors there as well.
Yeah.
There's something to give you a sense of scale.
And that's, I was just going to bring up that point. The sense of scale is fantastic. So many times it's just flashing, it'll be a flash of fur and fists. This is one of my problems with the Marvel, some of the Marvel action stuff too, is it's so cut and intercut that you don't really get a sense of the action playing out in a wide in front of you. And this did. I mean, there's this, my favorite scene in the movie is when Kong battles the giant squid or octopus, whatever you want to call it. I just happen to be that is my favorite creature of all time, is the giant squid. I've been fascinated with it since I was a little kid. I read Beast by Peter Benchley. I watched the shitty it wasn't that shitty, but it was kind of bad. The made for TV movie that was based after Beast. I loved 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I was just obsessed with this creature as a kid. And so and spiders, that's my other fascination. Oh. So for me, this like ticked all the boxes because you have giant spiders and you've got this incredible battle with this like giant squid. I think
the fight with the octopus have you seen the old Japanese King Kong versus Godzilla?
No, I have not.
At the start of that one, King Kong fights an octopus.
Oh yeah.
But I don't really like it because I think it's just a guy in a monkey suit punching a real octopus.
Oh really?
Yeah. There's some shots of the octopus where I'm sure it's real.
Kong like.
So I think they cut between a real octopus and then just occasionally picks up a rubber one and throws it around.
It kind of makes sense though, right? Because they probably they have a lot of access to octopi.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is a total tangent. Just riffing on what you just said, because I found this on YouTube a few nights ago where someone has made a you can 360 mouse guided VR recreation of the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride from Disneyland.
What?
Yeah, because it's been gone for years, and there's this VR recreation. It's actually quite good. I think it's a defunct land, so yeah.
Oh, I will absolutely check that out. I was so disappointed when I went last time. Well, when I went for the first time, since that ride closed. Well, it didn't close, but they've now turned it into Finding Nemo. And so what they have is they have this technology where on the windows, they're also on the submarine windows, they're projecting animation. So it looks like Nemo and everybody is swimming by, and it's quite impressive technology. But I mean, the danger and the foreboding, because I rode the original one when I was a kid, where you actually see the squid and it's an animatronic. It's a big animatronic squid, and it's, you can see the tentacles moving. And that just to me was like the coolest thing in the world.
And then you can flip it around and see the chairs in the back. So if you've been on, you can
that's
flip
cool.
around and you see the interior of the sub. It's great. So yeah.
Nice.
In I believe it's the Field Museum in Chicago. They have a stuffed giant squid that hangs in one of the ceilings, and I was fascinated by that.
The Natural History Museum in London has one as well.
Yeah,
they're crazy big.
I'm just so fascinated, because that's like a real sea monster that still exists, that we don't know, there could be many of them. It's just, they live so deep, you never know.
You think about one of those washing up 1,000 years ago, you can see where stuff like the Kraken came from.
Absolutely.
It's not hard to make that leap.
No, absolutely. And no, I thought that this had a good I guess it's an octopus, but I was like, it's a giant tentacled beast. But it was a great fight. I love how it kind of, when it first gets revealed, how it kind of comes out of the water is really cool.
I don't know if you spotted, but a few minutes before you properly see it, you can actually see it, one of the tentacles come up in the distance behind Chapman.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They kind of tease that it's coming. Which I noticed this most recent time I watched it. You mentioned as well that you're into the spider.
Yeah. That was a great scene.
Real spiders freak me out. I'm a little bit of an arachnophobe.
Me too.
Once they get to giant monster sizes, they don't really bother me anymore.
Okay, yeah, I was sitting there wondering, I wonder how Luke.
Because that's not a spider at that point. It's just a beast.
It's a monster. It's a beast at that point. For sure.
Yeah, I love those bamboo legs on this one.
The bamboo legs.
That first kill where it's through the guy.
Yeah, it was just great, and that shot where they kind of look up and it's over them is just such a good reveal. So much about cool monster movies, and whether your audience, I think, is wowed or not, is how you reveal the monsters. And this movie did a really good job of introducing all of its creatures in like you were saying, it's you could tell that the director is that he's got that kind of game. And I happen to know that he's, big gamer fan. He's going to do the new Metal Gear movie. And it's he does have such a good sense of how to introduce an epic beast, in
the same way you would in a game where first you see it out of the corner of your eye, then you have a battle where you can't really beat it, and then finally you get the real boss fight.
Exactly. Totally.
Well, a lot of them you can tell are specifically inspired by certain video game monsters, the skull crawlers. The body shape is based on that King Kong monster.
Yeah.
But the skull head apparently is based on Cubone, which is my favorite Pokemon. It's the one that wears the skull on its head.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
And then the eyeless face apparently is meant to be an Evangelion thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Maybe that's where you found yourself slightly underwhelmed by the monsters in Godzilla King of the Monsters, because that one's just plop, here's the next one.
Yeah. There's no teasing with those guys.
Yeah, this one definitely.
Well, and it also everything we're saying about how this film gets the scale and the action right, Godzilla the King of the Monsters got wrong.
Yeah.
There's so
Wait,
many
which
shots.
one was King of the Monsters?
That was the one that came out last year.
That I did. I think I saw the first rebooted Godzilla.
Yeah. See, that one had very small amount of monster action, but what it had was amazing.
Yeah, I really liked it. This the King of the Monsters. This is where he fights Mothra.
There's like Mothra, Ghidorah, Rodan. Loads of them come back.
Yeah. Okay, I gotta see that one.
It's worth giving a watch if you like monster stuff.
Yeah,
but it's just not in the same league as this or the 2014 one.
Yeah, I think we kept going on when we talked about that one. Oh, Skull Island.
Yeah.
So here we are. The skull crawlers, skull crushers, what are they?
Skull crawlers, yeah.
Thank you. Those are, kick me in the head if I sound stupid, but that's basically the same as the Mutos.
I don't think so.
A little different. I was thinking that
the Mutos were very insect.
Yeah, I was just thinking that's where we get our entrance into the Hollow Earth.
Right. Yeah.
They're coming from the same place, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But my problem with the Mutos was that they were so generic and boring, whereas the Skull Crawler, like, I can close my eyes now and see it very clearly. It had a pretty cool design.
It's a very unique. I'm just looking at like concept art and stuff, and it is such a unique design. It's like, what they did. It's like he sort of got right what the Cloverfield monster was going for, but like didn't quite like capitalize on.
Like the long limbs and
the long limbs and the kind of like the disproportionate, like, basically that it kind of walked on its arms in a creepy way.
Well, the thing with the Cloverfield monster is they made it so spindly, it didn't look threatening.
Yeah.
It looked like you could just kick it and it would break its leg. Whereas the Skull Crawlers, they are weird and misproportioned, but they still look strong.
Yeah, they're strong and it moves really fast, and it's kind of just the nature of the way that it's kind of like haunches are. It kind of always looks like it's about to pounce, which is like really stressful. Yeah, it's good shit. What did you guys think of Cloverfield, the first one? Because I loved the idea of it and of seeing a huge spectacle sort of through the eye of a found footage thing. I thought that was like a really genius thing, but I was a little bit disappointed with the monster in it.
Yeah, I think I definitely really liked it on my first watch, but it's one of those films that each subsequent time I see it, it just gets worse and worse.
When it came out, I was completely opposed to watching another found footage film, and its reputation has lowered since. I've never actually watched it.
Okay. Yeah. Because you spend most of that film not seeing the monster.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, this is so sick.
Yeah.
But then when you actually see the monster, it is kind of disappointing. So now when I watch it, I know what it's building towards.
Which is, I think also, to bring us back to Skull Island really speaks credit to the film, because here's a movie that has a bunch of different monsters in it. That means that your audience has like 10 different chances to be disappointed in how the creatures look. So it's really ballsy to do a movie with that amount of monsters and have them all work,
Well, that's the thing. If you approach it from like a film standpoint, that's insane. No one does that.
It's insane.
But if you approach it from a game standpoint, that's what every video game does.
Yeah.
Has like 10 different monsters. So I guess that's just like, is it Vote Roberts or Voight Roberts? I don't know how to pronounce it.
I'm not sure.
Let's just say Jordan.
I'm not sure. But yeah, Jordan, I think is going to be in that magical place that I think Hollywood has been looking for years, which is somebody who understands both worlds. Because usually it's one or the other, right? You have somebody who comes from games that like isn't really passionate about making a movie, or vice versa. Somebody's passionate about movies, but doesn't really respect the games or isn't a huge gamer themselves. So I think he definitely has the potential to become that magic director that can usher these beloved, gaming franchises onto the screen in a way that does not take away from what people love about the game, but also brings people who weren't playing the game maybe into that universe. I'm really looking forward to seeing.
I think it's partly just a generational thing, right? We're finally at the point where there's this generation of filmmakers who, for them, their whole life games have just been a thing. They're a real thing. Yeah, that's true. If I ever get a chance to make a movie like that, I'm gonna be that, because I grew up on games and I grew up on movies, and I respect
respect that each of those mediums does something different, but I also am fascinated and curious about where the crossover can be.
Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking, like, what actually was the critical response to this? Because we're all like, yeah, this is the best thing ever, which that's cool. Let's see, Rotten Tomatoes 75%, Metacritic 62 for a monster movie. I guess that's pretty highly rated.
That's pretty high. Well, and I'll bet what's the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes?
Let's see.
I don't know about the audience score, but I know it did make back like pretty good money.
Which not as much as you wanted.
No, as well. No, I want this to be as like bigger than freaking Avengers. I want 10 monster films a year. But
B plus.
That's pretty good for a monster movie.
Yeah.
Well, especially King Kong. King Kong is tough because, like I said, a lot of people think King Kong and they go, "Oh, it's a monster, or it's a big gorilla holding a lady on top of a building. I know what that looks like. I'm not interested."
That's it. I think Peter Jackson's one did really well.
Yeah,
that's hovering
Peter
more
Jackson.
Like 80%.
I mean, it's Peter Jackson.
Although,
I mean, clearly this one did amazing because he's helming Godzilla versus Kong, and and this has kept these. They made a Godzilla. They made God knows how many Godzillas now.
There's only been 2 Godzillas in this so far.
Yeah,
but there's been some Japanese ones coming out at the same time, so it muddies the water.
Yeah.
And then the water is quite muddy if you want to go into the past.
Well, yeah,
it's wonderful mud, of course, but
I feel like between people who like monster movies, I feel like people talk about this one as one of the recent kind of beacons of light in an otherwise sort of mishmash of stuff that either just doesn't get made because it's really tricky to do monster movies nowadays because it's so effects heavy and everybody's afraid to combine like the practical effects and the CGI. Like it's hard to make them relatable, and everybody wants to do, it's like the way Hollywood is sort of kind of shaken out in the past, couple past, I don't know, 10 years or so, is you essentially have like big tentpole Marvel movies, and then you have the small kind of like Oscar bait independent movies, and like that's sort of it. It doesn't feel like the city sort of like opens room for a lot of stuff that's really swinging for the fences.
Well, the film which kind of almost does a monster thing and was super successful is the Transformers series.
Yeah, that's true.
They're all giant robots smashing stuff up, but somehow that got away with no one really thinking of it as a monster thing.
That's true, I guess.
Considering how filming has changed in the past year, a monster movie may actually be somewhat more something they want to do now.
Yeah.
So you can do it all remotely, outsource computers. I mean, even filming, it's a monster. People are spread out. You film one person. It might be something we actually see a resurgence of just from practicalities.
I hope so. That would be great. I mean, recently the stuff that comes to mind was the director of Parasite. I don't know if it was his first movie, but The Host is one of my favorite monster movies of all time.
Did you ever see Shin Godzilla?
No, I didn't.
It's completely different, like end of the spectrum from this one. It's very serious and quite dry.
Yeah.
But it really deals with like it's all from the point of view of like a government minister. And the film is basically about how Japanese red tape stops you doing anything.
Yeah.
But when you get the monster scenes, they're pretty.
When I watched it, I
intense.
think that's kind of what I would have expected from having not seen Cloverfield. That's kind of what my expectations of Cloverfield would have been.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, the shaky cam. But Shin Godzilla's filmed reasonably well. It's a Toho production, right? So.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that stops Skull Island from being like a full 10 out of 10 monster movie for me is they never leave the island. So you never see like cities and stuff getting smashed up.
Yeah.
But maybe that's actually kind of what saves it, because it gets to just have like this Jurassic Park feel instead.
Yeah, I would actually argue that it's much better for you to be left wanting that than for him to have tried to do it. And
to try and squeeze it into this film would have been.
It would have been like here's a great example. Jurassic Park: The Lost World. You have that scene kind of at the end where the T-Rex comes back and it's smashing through the stuff, and it's like, well, that would be a cool movie in and of itself, but as tacked on to this kind of ending thing, that was actually my big problem with the latest Jurassic Park, Fallen Kingdom, was I thought that
two films.
It was two films, and the thing is, the second film would have been amazing if you did it like the original Alien. And it's like a family in a house, and it's being stalked by like a velociraptor. That would be so cool. Such an interesting direction.
One of those films could have been really good.
Could have been
cool. Tried to do both.
Yeah. It's like you got to get all of the dinosaurs off the island before the volcano hits.
I was so invested in that, and then it was finished at like the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, the 30 minutes. It's basically your first act essentially, and then your break into two is this kind of like weird capitalism, like military, military sort of like war machine shit.
And it also meant that we just got so little dinosaur.
Yeah.
I never saw the second Jurassic World because my nephew, 8 or 9 at the time, for an entire year, like every Monday, he'd come up in my room at 5 o'clock. I'd have to play like an hour of one of the Jurassic Parks or the first Jurassic World movie. So I was pretty burnt out on by a year of that.
Right.
Yeah, the first one's all right.
He eventually realized that the second and third ones were crappier.
But like the Jurassic Park series is one of those weird things where the first film is a straight up masterpiece.
Yeah.
And none of the others since have been anything more than just okay.
Yeah, they've all been just okay. It is, yeah. Even as like a kid, kind of, or like an adolescent going to the theater and seeing the second movie, I was kind of like, like this isn't quite as good. And even then, you're not even going to critique the movie. You're just going for like to see the dinosaurs and stuff.
But yeah, then you get like a girl doing gymnastics and kicking a velociraptor and stuff. So
yeah, I felt the same way about Ninja Turtles 3, Turtles in Time. I remember even as a very little kid, like going to the theater and being like, oh, movies can be bad. Like movies with things that I like in them can be bad still somehow.
Vanilla Ice,
sad, sobering lesson.
That's two.
I know, that's my point.
One's gold.
That's my point. Vanilla Ice didn't get you in the second one. Cool as ice.
Well, before we move on from monsters entirely, I've had this joke I wanted to use on the spider and didn't get to use it.
Oh yeah.
Charlie's not just in the trees. Charlie is the trees.
Okay.
So as soon as we were talking about the bamboo spider, that came to me, and I was like, I need an opportunity, but they keep talking.
Yeah. This spider was like a better version and like a scarier and obviously bigger version of the spiders from the first Jumanji film, which I thought were kind of scary. I don't know if you guys remember that with Robin Williams, the first Jumanji, where the spiders like come into the house, and they are kind of these very like long, spindly, but with like the really bulbous thorax. They've kind of got like the widow sort of shape to them.
I think I've repressed that memory because I remember that I never wanted to watch Jumanji again, and I couldn't remember why. So I think that must have scared the shit out of me as a kid.
It must have. You know why? Because they're not so huge. They're like this big. They're big enough that
that's
like
the sweet spot for me.
Yeah. There's a game out now called oh God.
I think I know the one you mean. I can't remember the name. Is it one where you shrink down to like
Yeah. It's
being chased by spiders the whole time?
Yeah, at the very beginning. Oh, Grounded, I think it's called.
I think you're right. Yeah,
something like that. It's on Xbox Early Access and on PC. But there's a at the very beginning of the game, there's a message for people like you, and it's like if you do not like spiders, like here is a slider. And what it does is like as you slide it, down.
Oh, the creatures get less spiderish, right?
Yeah, what it turns the spider, it basically like removes the legs and turns it kind of into like this friendly looking cloud thing that comes after you. But the spiders in that game are so scary. Like when they sneak up on you, that's a really cool game. I'll actually be looking to see how the development goes on that, because I think there's a lot of potential there.
One of my big early obsessions for me was War of the Worlds.
Oh yeah.
So the sort of the big spindly tripod kind of monster design really gets me. Yeah. And the spider felt like it had a bit of that, especially when it moves over them and you see the legs coming down.
Yeah, that's so true. It does have that sort of War of the Worlds, like oh God, what's the Escape from Witch Mountain? There's kind of like similar creatures. Are you talking about the Tom Cruise War of the Worlds?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, fantastic movie.
Yeah, really intense. But yeah, there's
Really
something
intense,
otherworldly
really
about it. Just like a big thing with these legs that don't really look like they could support it.
Yeah.
Just sort of drifting towards you, and there's nothing you can do about it. That really gets me.
Yeah. That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
I was born in Woking in the UK.
Yeah.
Which is where H.G. Wells lived, and it's where the original novel is set.
Oh, cool.
And then they've actually got a couple of big metal statues of the tripods in the town center.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and really cool.
And scary a little bit. But that's something that like on like the one European vacation that my family took when I was like in high school or whatever, if we had seen that, I would have been obsessed. Although what we did stumble upon on that trip is we were in Gruyere, Switzerland, and we were walking by this like building, and we looked up, and there was like an alien, like a Giger's alien above it. I was like, that's so weird. Like, why is there an alien? Why is like my favorite creature like above this like random like doorway in Gruyere, Switzerland? And it turns out that's where H.R. Giger was from, and it was the H.R. Giger Museum.
Oh my god, nice.
And so we went in, and they had suits, all the original suits from the first movie. His dining room chairs, which looked like human spines coming up, and you would sit in them, and they like exactly fit the curvature of your spine. It was so rad.
And I spent all of my time when I went to Europe looking for like urinating Renaissance fountains.
You were like, I saw this in a Looney Tunes cartoon.
It's gotta exist. I think we eventually found something.
There are a couple.
Yeah, we eventually found.
I remember one of my most vivid memories when we went to London was there was this, and I was probably like 15 or 16. There was this like 4-story arcade, and it was like the biggest arcade. Yeah, that I had ever seen in my life. And it had all the games that like you had to, that like were seemingly so rare in the States. Like there's one where you got on a skateboard, and like you could actually like move the skateboard, and you would kick back, and your guy would do tricks on the screen. It was like, and I remember wanting to stay so bad, but my mom, who's an English teacher and hates video games, was like, oh, this place is giving me a headache. So I was extracted from it, just like looking at like all of these amazing arcade games. Me and my little brother were like, oh, we want to play so bad, but alas, I guess I'll have to make a return trip.
I think the one in London's gone, but if you come here, there's plenty of arcades.
Yeah, we don't have those. Arcades are really not a thing in the States anymore.
There's still a big thing in Japan, but it's like 80% music, games, and photo machines and gambling, and then there'll be like one floor of the good stuff.
Yeah. I'm down for that. There was some like, I know that they're starting to incorporate like VR stuff into arcades a little bit more.
Yeah, there's one in Akihabara in Tokyo that the whole top floor is just these big VR like chambers. And I really want to give that a go. It looks pretty crazy.
Yeah, if I had like endless amounts of money, I would get like 10, I would like buy like a coffee shop or whatever and get 10 good rigs with 10 headsets, and then those treadmills that they're coming out with the shoes that you can like run on it, and rent it out for like parties and have people like come in and do like, you know, Battlefield like 5v5 with their friends or whatever. I think that would be so cool.
Okay, I think that's us done on monsters.
Yeah, I guess we've drifted.
Okay, the one I briefly want to touch on is the big buffalo things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gorgeous creatures.
There's a monster in Monster Hunter that's very much like that. It's called the
Durangoros. Oh, really?
And I actually used to, when the first podcast that I did that had a few listeners was a Monster Hunter podcast. I still do it now.
Oh, sweet.
And when we covered that monster, I was trying to tweet at Jordan to try and get him to confirm if there was a connection. He never replied.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Well, maybe he'll hear this and he'll let you finally know whether
please hit me
he
up.
Got the idea.
I thought he was just here to represent the age of Taurus, man.
So obviously one of the reasons I invited you on is just because I know you're a lover of like big dumb action films.
Mm-hmm.
But also you're a guy who does a conspiracy theory podcast.
Yes.
And this film is all about the Hollow Earth.
Right, exactly. I mean, this goes back to, you know, we've done episodes actually on the guy who really started this shit, Admiral Byrd, who was super pilled and basically claimed that he had flown into a cave like on the North Pole basically, and landed his plane and was sort of embraced by a whole community of people who've been living inside the earth, which has, you know, of course spawned, you know, millions and billions of conspiracy theories since then. But yeah, I love that aspect of this,
because that's the kind of conspiracy theory that I used to love as a kid. Secret aliens and underground civilizations and,
yes,
you know, Atlantis, Mayan stuff. But if I feel like these days, anytime I try and get into one of these conspiracy theories that's just fun and sci-fi and weird, I get like 2 pages into Google and suddenly it gets racist and anti-Semitic.
Yes, it
so like,
really.
Where does that turn happen with Hollow Earth?
Well, let me try to think.
Maybe I'll start
I
with the happy
believe,
version.
well, there's, you know, that Hitler was very much into, you know, like the Nazi Volkish occultism. He was totally into this like weird myth. I can't remember exactly where it comes from, but that there was like a race of like Aryan giants that like lived like inside the earth and stuff. So it inevitably goes there.
I think I heard Nazi tunnels going from Germany to like Argentina and Antarctica using the Hollow Earth.
Yeah, I mean, in Iso Cameron, Giacomo Casanova's book, which is the first real sort of like literary mention of the Hollow Earth, he talks about like he talks about a tribe that, like, you know, that he interacts with, in the story at least that he wrote. And the depiction of them is incredibly racist and not good. I mean, there's always some, it sucks really, because, you know, it's like, you know, I want to run on a platform of, you know, less racism in our conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
I mean, and it sucks too, because like over the past 4 years, especially, you know, I was an avid, you know, Reddit our conspiracy board lurker.
Right.
And to watch that become an entirely political.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is with a lot of conspiracy theories is that it's somewhere baked in that part of why it's a conspiracy is because the New World Order needs it to happen so that they can take control. And when you start to dig deeper into the New World Order, you find that a lot of people just think it's the Jews.
Right.
I'm just thinking, if I go to a country that I don't know much about and I come back and I tell you my stories about what I saw and experienced there, people with more knowledge would see me as being horribly racist and trying to do my description, probably, because I just don't understand what I'm seeing.
Well, yeah, one thing I run into is I often put pictures up on like my Facebook and Instagram of, I go to a museum, I put on the samurai armor, I take some pictures, you know, scowling with the sword.
Yeah.
And every now and then I'll get someone commenting like, "Oh, nice cultural appropriation." I'm like, I literally live in Japan, and some Japanese people asked me to do this. Like, they're like, come over, put the armor on. It's going to be good fun. Like,
yeah, I think that intention and context are side notes, and now a lot of ways people don't want to, you know, I think that in a lot of ways the 24-hour news cycle and beyond, I mean, it feels like more than a 24-hour news cycle now.
Well, it's 24 hours, but you've got 4 different cycles simultaneously.
Yeah, but you've got 4 different cycles.
Is that the time cube?
Yeah.
It doesn't really allow for people to look beyond their first initial reaction or the first piece of information that they sort of ingest. And so we do kind of like, but I think that we are vastly approaching a culture where your initial reaction to something is the information. Yeah. As opposed to understanding what your initial reaction is and then trying to look at the larger picture. And that's really what we try to do on our podcast, is we try to paint a full, complete picture of what is going on, why people are getting radicalized to QAnon, that sort of thing. And not everybody likes it, to be honest. I think that there are a lot of people that want the answer to be, oh, well, it's Russia or it's foreign intervention, and that's why it's like this. And
or even just to be like, oh, they're just racist white kids in their mom's basement.
They're just all white supremacists and they're all losers, and it's not that, you know.
Well, that's the thing. I really like about your show is that you touch on the fact that, yeah, these guys believe some crazy stuff, but the problems that they're concerned about are real.
Yes,
there are these big failings, and the CIA is really fucked up, and all of this stuff is true. They've just taken the wrong turn at the end of it all.
Well, it's because the people that are in a position to offer the information and confirmation that some of the systems within our United States government are incredibly problematic, they have too much vested in it, or there's money in it, or for whatever reason, or they're all friends because they all, once you get to a certain level, you all kind of hang out with one another and you go on each other's shows and you talk and
Well,
all that stuff.
Whenever I talk to Matt about presidents, he's like, you don't get to be president unless you're already compromised.
yeah. Well, a lot of people were hoping that wasn't the case with Donald Trump, but as I saw with a bunch of tweets, I was reading a couple tweets yesterday. Basically, they said, for a guy who claimed that he was going to drain the swamp, who pardoned, like Lil Wayne, as opposed to people like Edward Snowden or Reality Winner or, Chelsea Manning, like, you basically lost against the swamp. Like you didn't do it, you didn't really do anything.
He'd also been pumping millions into both parties for years before that. So it was bullshit from the start, right?
It was bullshit from the start. I mean, just like everything it was such a big show. And the idea that people were led to believe, that there, I mean, the perfect explanation of why QAnon exists, right? You have a president. He claims he's going to drain the swamp. He claims he's working for you. He claims he's going to arrest the corrupt politicians. He does none of that. You need to invent a narrative in which that is happening behind the scenes, much like we're starting to see now that even in liberal circles, there are people that are starting to cultivate this QAnon style thinking, like Donald Trump, like, oh, I'm watching Pacer and there's sealed indictments. I think this is Trump and his family and SDNY. I mean, nobody is safe from this because there is no justice. I think people feel like there is no real justice. And so, and the, we're piped into such separate echo chambers that now politics is just the person whose political belief is opposite of mine is evil. It's communism versus Nazism. And hey, there are definitely some neo-Nazis like on the right. I've seen them. They exist. We should be worried about them. We should be monitoring them. But I don't think the majority of, people are neo-Nazis. And I don't think the majority of people on the left are communists. Obviously, you do have you do have people that would identify as both. But this kind of rhetoric where we can only see each other as enemies is not good. And no matter who's president going forward, it is something that has to be addressed, or else people will slide further into this disconnect with reality. And you will have
I think the only way to address it is to actually reconnect it with the people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you look at countries like Sweden, where the people are a lot happier. It's because the connection between the actual populace and what the politicians are doing is so much stronger.
Exactly.
Victim mentality versus an empowerment mentality. If you're a victim, this is being done to me. All these injustices are being done to me. I need a savior. And you look in weird places for it. With a little bit of empowerment, it's like, well, there's some horrible things going on.
Let's go fix it.
Fix it how I can. I can't. I can't go and like drain the swamp myself. But I can, I live my life the best I can and hope that reverberates out,
Exactly. You can focus on your community. You can focus on your local, your local, election tickets, things that are going on. That's so oftentimes I think that we're kind of instructed to argue about things that we can't really change, that we don't have control over. And we're sort of ushered away from looking into the things that we actually could, do ourselves. So it is a really tricky situation. And I mean, it's so nice to be able to talk about something fun like Skull Island, because it's such a nice break from, essentially escapism. In my work, it's looking at a problem that It's like, fuck, I've got a theater degree, man. Like, none of us are journalists on the podcast, and like, we're the de facto experts on this shit. How did that happen?
Because the journalists aren't doing their jobs. I went to journalism school.
It's like, how did that happen? It's like, we're dangerously unqualified. So many times people will hit us up and say, how do I get my relative out of this? How do I do this? And we're all like, well, none of us are like mental health professionals. Like, you should really ask somebody who knows what they're talking about. But it's like Luke was saying, it's been, weird as a listener seeing this go from this kind of weird internet project to like national breaking news, like every single day. It's, it was definitely a sign that the system has failed if we're the people that you're looking to for answers on this kind of stuff.
I was talking with a coworker yesterday, and one thing, I mean, the Japanese national government is not impressive either.
Yeah.
But one thing that Japan has where seems to be just eating itself alive like America seems to want to do is, again, at those community or local levels, things are generally relatively stable. I know there's town hall meetings in America now where you'll get people just spewing like national level rhetoric at each other, which is insane. It's like,
I can't fix that. I'm here to talk about whether we
get the
build
garbage
pickup,
squared away first.
I also feel like that, and I got this from my brother. Lived in Japan for a year after he graduated from university, teaching English. And one thing that he said that was very interesting is, he said, when you walk along the sidewalks, there are these big guardrails, and he didn't know what it was for, and he asked somebody and said, oh, well, because people get drunk and they wander, they would kind of wander out into the streets and get hit, and so they put in the guardrails. And I think that America in so many ways is in absolute denial about what happens amongst its citizens. I feel like in some regards Japan is like, no, we know what humans do and we know how they act, and we're gonna put things in place to prevent them from hurting themselves or doing something really stupid. Whereas America, it's kind of like, you try to put in systems that keep people from either hurting themselves or others, and they're like, well, you're taking my freedoms away. I mean, you've got half of, not half of the country. I think realistically it's more like 30% or so, but people who are like, well, Joe Biden is going to usher in communism and it's like the end of the world. And it's like, you couldn't be further from the truth. Even if Bernie Sanders had won the primary and won, we still wouldn't be ushering in communism. We would have maybe a little bit more socialism sprinkled in with our democracy, a little bit of healthcare here, a little bit of minimum wage there, just it's so, we are so in disagreement with the terms defined by the generation that came before us. And so I think until we really start having those kind of conversations and admitting where our faults lie on both sides, you're never going to have any kind of unity. And honestly, not to sound conspiratorial, but we're much easier to control when we hate each other and not the people that are enacting the policies. So
yeah. No, I feel like we're moving to a future where all social media is just going to be this like Tinder app, and you swipe right, liberal cuck, you swipe left, cancelled.
Yeah,
that's it.
That first reaction, you're going to get judged on.
You get a news story like liberal cuck, cancelled, liberal cuck. That's it. There's nothing in between.
Yeah, I do find that when I talk to people who are, quote unquote red pilled, the best way that I've been able to make any kind of headway with them is by first admitting like, hey, you've got some real grievances that are real and true, and I understand it.
Yeah.
And if I think if people that are in positions of influence are unwilling to do that, I don't see anything changing, unfortunately.
But there's another thing. Luke's called me on this a few times. I don't even understand what being red-pilled means anymore.
Matt comes from a generation where it would be like but you come from a generation where that would be kind of a left-wing thing.
Yeah.
Being red-pilled is seeing the actual real problems. But now it's being usurped where it's, you see those problems and then somehow that turns you into oh, it's the women and the minorities who are behind.
Yeah, see, I'm like, oh, red pill. Now we're like more enlightened, right? No. Now you're men's right too. Like, what?
Yeah. I mean, I've always taken it. My sort of interpretation is that when you take the red pill, it's the realization that the Democrats, who claim to be these moral sort of, beacons of what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of like pillars of goodness and decency, that you realize that, like, oh wait, they're not as good as they think they are, and that's why it's specifically become conservative, because it's like, nowadays I think that the red pill means it's like, oh well, conservatism is actually the good thing,
right?
Because so many people we see, so many QAnoners will say like, oh, I voted for, I was a staunch supporter of President Obama and all this stuff. And who knows if that's true, but you hear it enough to, and especially with movements like Walk Away, you do have these movements that are gaining popularity of people who are sort of fed up with the Democrat pandering, and who's left to turn to? I mean, there are only two real. I mean, your Green Party would, you don't have a chance,
right? You've got a two-party system.
I walked away myself, all the way to Japan.
Yeah, exactly. And as long as you've got the Hatfields and obviously I think one party is far less dangerous than the other. I think that right wing ideology generally lends itself to more violence. The example I use is that there were a good amount of Democrats who, after the 2016 elections, thought that the election was stolen by Russia or by Trump and his things, but they got out and they marched peacefully. They didn't storm the Capitol. There was an inherently less dangerous ideology there. So it just it's sad, and I don't think that we're without hope. I think that people are generally good, and I think that when you can feed your family, and like Matt was saying, when you have ownership, or you feel good about yourself, or you feel empowered, some of the racism and the shit that's been passed down to you for generations and generations becomes less important because you're less angry. And it might still be there, and it might still live, but at least you don't feel like you need to put it out into the world. And I think that's a huge change that we've seen in the last 4 years. Is I think a lot of people feel like they've been given permission, and that it's okay to act like this, and that it's encouraged, in fact, by the president of the United States, which it is, or it was. And so, yeah, I think it's, I think that this is going to be sort of left with us for a generation, and I hope.
I was gonna say, if we want to actually tie it back into Skull Island a little bit, this film is like directly post Vietnam, and I feel like that's when a lot of these feelings first appeared. Of like, oh, we're not all powerful, and like Samuel L. Jackson's whole character, it's like he just wants to feel like he has some power and could win something.
Yeah,
because he'd given, I guess it's implied he'd given like 15-20 years of his life to the military,
right?
And he's walking away with nothing to show for it. He's going to go home and get spat on.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
here's
Exactly.
He thinks he can win, right?
And he is, because that's what happened after Vietnam.
Yeah. Like, again, he's the baddie of this film, but that is a real grievance.
Yeah.
Like, the troops who are over there, it wasn't their decision to enter this stupid war. Like, I have never supported a war that my country's fought in my whole lifetime, but I don't blame the troops for it.
Yeah, exactly. Because, so many of them don't have any other choice.
Well,
or
the economy's built to leave some kids with no choice but to join the military.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great way to tie it back in. And
I mean, as for me, my thought is when they're flying into the storm, it's like, now I'm going to be the person that stays on the boat, smoking weed and listening to that record player.
I fully want to go into the storm, but the dumb shit I do. So. Yeah. I tried to walk through the mountains in the middle of winter and nearly got eaten by a bear a couple weeks back.
Yeah. So. We're already in an exotic, locale in the middle of the Pacific on a boat, so we're good to go.
So, but you were born 79.
Yeah.
So Vietnam was obviously over by the time you were born.
Oh yeah.
But how much was it a thing that people were thinking about as you were growing up?
Platoon, Hamburger Hill.
Okay.
Born on the 4th of July. That's literally how we got. They didn't teach it in school yet, really. So
right.
It was Hollywood that gave us kiddies what our taste of Vietnam, I guess.
We were talking about World War II recently. You were saying most of that you didn't really learn in school. You picked it up culturally before they even mentioned it in school.
Right.
Because yeah, I don't think I ever learned about Vietnam in school. No, I mean, obviously it wasn't our war. The UK wasn't involved.
We didn't talk about the Falklands.
But I don't think, no, well, we didn't learn about that at school either. Okay. The only war I remember coming up in school were World War I and World War II. Because it was a long time ago and we can convince ourselves we were the goodies.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, they never really touched on any of that in school. You just hear about it. All I hear was like newspaper propaganda.
No Napoleonic Wars? You get into that, yeah.
Well, I think we learned a little bit about like War Rally and stuff. Yeah. But
you should listen to Trillburn on Twitter, his podcast. He does a podcast all about Napoleon. It's incredible. We had
I listened to your episode about Napoleonic conspiracy theories.
He's amazing. And if you want to watch a really like deep cut, interesting Vietnam movie, which I believe is one of the first found footage movies ever made. It's an 80s movie called 84 Charlie Mopic. Okay. Which is like one of my dad showed it to me when I was growing up, and it's about a reconnaissance team, like a news crew that goes in with a reconnaissance team in Vietnam, and the entire movie is shot through like the news camera's lens, and I haven't watched it in a while, but I remember it very much affecting me when I was growing up and being like, this movie is like doing something different, and it's really cool to see like a found footage movie before they knew that that was gonna be like a genre in and of itself. It's really really interesting.
I don't know if I can handle that right now, because last year I watched all 5 Rambo films in 1 week.
Oh yeah,
and by the end of it, I just lost my hope for humanity.
Oh yeah. You lose it pretty.
Because it's like quick. They take place over like 50 years, and it's just each time it's just humanity's worse and worse.
In the book, he just ends it all in the first one.
Yeah, I know. Apparently, I think they shot that ending.
Yeah, probably.
And then Stallone wanted to have the opportunity to make sequels.
Did
you see Last Blood, by the way?
No, I'm not a Rambo guy.
Okay.
Never have been.
I'm not a huge Rambo guy. I'm much more of a Schwarzenegger fan. I love
Me too. Yeah. I'm much more into Arnold.
But like, it was playing in the theaters, and I thought, yeah, okay, I'll watch all the Rambos.
Yeah.
It's grim. It's real grim. Do you care if I spoil something from the last one?
No, please do.
It's basically like a Taken thing, but he's fighting Mexican human traffickers.
Right.
And at the end, he lures them all back to his complex, kills them one by one. The last guy, he pins him to a wall with his bow and arrow, and then pulls his heart out.
Well, here we get a.
And that's the good guy. That's the good guy who's doing this to someone.
We got a digestive tract pulled out at the end of Skull
Island. But that's a dinosaur. That's one thing, right? That's not just a dude.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's not a dude who's like screaming for his life, who's already been incapacitated. Like,
it's like, fuck
crazy.
Me.
I didn't watch.
I can see why people thought that film was like, does Stallone just hate Mexicans?
Yeah, I know, right?
I don't think that is the case, because it has. Like, he has like he's living with a Mexican family, and that's why he does it. He just hates the cartel, but it still comes across real fucked up.
Yeah, it's still, you just have like 5 movies worth of like this like jacked white dude just like killing like scores and scores of brown people. Like, it's just not a good look.
Yeah. The Rambo 3 ends with that message about the brave men and women of Afghanistan.
Times change.
So
we've moved pretty far away from Skull Island at this point.
I guess we'll wheel this one in, but as far as the monster universe, they're batting pretty well. We didn't love Godzilla King of the Monsters.
I didn't hate it either. I
didn't hate it either, but 2 good ones. Hopefully, please, the new one be good. We just like that. Just some nice King Kong and Godzilla action.
It's gonna be tight. I have faith.
Yeah.
I liked Freddy versus Jason. No one else did, so we got that.
I like Freddy versus Jason.
Okay,
I thought that was I thought that was fun.
I like that. But another Endgame reference. Yeah, we were kind of just finished with that track, and why not some monsters now?
Yeah, I mean, I know that they have got like 10 more Marvel films coming down the pipe. I don't really feel like I need them though.
Yeah.
Maybe Spider-Man.
I saw Endgame. It's like, okay, I'm kind of marveled out at this. You know what I am looking forward to though is the new Ghostbusters.
Oh really?
Jason Reitman's.
Because all I've seen is that first trailer, and that that did not turn me on at all.
Oh,
it didn't even look like a comedy.
I mean, I wasn't necessarily. I thought that the trailer looked okay, and I'm like a big Ghostbusters like mega fan. No, I liked. I mean, maybe I think I was so sour on the way that they wrote the reboot that came out in 2016.
We're both big apologists for the reboot, so.
which I saw soup jokes, which I saw in the theaters, and it was a fine, like comedy, but it just didn't feel like Ghostbusters.
Well, that's one of my big problems with all of these Hollywood reboots is if it's not going to feel like the original, just make a new film.
Yeah, just make something new. Yeah, totally. But having Reitman's son, like he wants to do good by his dad. I like Paul Rudd. I like the kids from Stranger Things. I like the idea of him working with kids in a small town using like the old technology from the original films to kind of, I don't know. I think that there could be something interesting there. I mean, we'll see what happens.
I do hope there's a good film there, but yeah. The trailer was just trying to pressing the wrong nostalgia buttons, I guess, for some people.
Yeah.
But the movie may not do that.
Well, yeah, trailers are, you cannot judge a film on trailers these days at all.
It's so tough also to do what Ramis and Aykroyd did, which I mean, the reason that the original works is because Aykroyd is so pilled. Like he grew up in a house where his father was performing seances and stuff, and so he believes a lot of the stuff that is written into the movie. And Ramis was the one that actually was able to sort of bring it down to earth and make it funny and make it a comedy. Just incredibly tough to do nowadays with how movies are written, what the studios allow you to do. So we'll see. I mean, why don't we put a cork in this one and we will reconvene to do an episode on that when it comes out, assuming you both are Ghostbuster fans.
Sounds like you're the guy to get in for that. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, I have a full proton pack in my closet, like
nice.
Full on.
Well,
replica.
we also haven't done any kind of episode on the original Ghostbusters. So if you ever wanted to join us for that,
absolutely, my feeling on that is that it is one of the best, maybe the best comedy science fiction script ever written.
Okay.
So I will come back on and make that case.
I guess we should be finishing up. So could you tell us where you make your other cases? I think we're deep enough in. You can say the name of your podcast and everything.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So our show is called QAnon Anonymous. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. We put out an episode every week for free, and then there's like the weirder sort of premium content is on Patreon for $5. You can subscribe, and there's like 200 episodes in total, so a lot of stuff there. And we do not only just QAnon, but we also do other conspiracies and sort of lean into it with an analytical brain and try to see what's true, what's not. And it's been a lot of fun, but it's also been, exhausting. But come check us out. It's weird. It's fun. It might, if you've got a loved one or, somebody close to you that has fallen deep into the QAnon rabbit hole, it might help you gain a little bit of perspective on what they believe and why they believe it.
Yeah, I can confirm it's a good listen. I've listened to all of it. I don't think it's done my mental health any good. Thanks for that, by the way.
Thanks for listening to us.
Yeah, it's a real good listen. Yeah, I guess I should plug our stuff.
Yeah, go for it.
Just if you've enjoyed this podcast, you can find us on Twitter at MLSFS We're also on Facebook, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Just search Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary. We do other podcasts as well. And if you want to hear those and support us, you can find us at patreon.com/podcastio-podcastius. And if you've enjoyed the music you heard in this podcast, you can find Matt's music at rovingsagemedia.bandcamp.com.
Wow, you got through it all with the changes. That's impressive.
I know. I hate how good I am at shilling.
Hey, dem's the breaks.
But
I haven't thought of an outro.
Oh, you haven't
an outro?
There you go. That's a great show, boys.
Cheers, thanks. Yeah, it's really good.
We're obviously not afraid of the tangents. So.
You were talking about like, oh, it's nice to talk about something fun instead. I still got you to give us a 30-minute rant on the state of the world. So.
Yeah, I know. It's like baked into my. Yeah, you can edit that out if you.
Oh
want
no,
to.
we're definitely not. I think it's good stuff.
No, I was like, I think I'll probably put this one up in the editing queue just to stay.
we ruined your vacation a little bit, you know.
Well, no, it's just the thing is like it's just like it's almost like an autopilot thing that like comes on because we just have so like people just seem to be so dumbfounded at kind of like how we got here, and they're like, man, even my fucking like therapist is like, do these people really believe like this stuff? Like how, like I'm just fascinated from a psychological standpoint. It's like, oh man, yeah, you know, not good.
I haven't had much dealing with like Q people, but I used to have a lot of arguments with like Gamergate people.
Oh yeah, well, which is really kind of in a lot of ways
all flowed into one.
It is where they realized that the chans could be weaponized in a way that was meaningful. Yeah, it's really scary stuff when you think about it.
My New Year's resolution this year, I've quit scrolling any social media. So,
dude, I did the same thing like a couple months before Christmas, and I've never been happier, honestly.
Yeah. The only thing I do now is I post pictures to my Instagram. I don't even scroll down my Instagram anymore. And it's so much nicer.
It's beautiful. Like we used to be happy, you know, we used to be happy people that weren't constantly like looking into a glass window that was reminding us like, not as rich as this person, not going on as many vacations as this person.
Or just like, here's someone you've never met who believes something you think is abhorrent. Now you have to care.
Yeah, now you have to care. Or even worse is people who you love. Right. And you read their stuff and you start to hate them because of how they are on social media. I've had that happen with good friends of mine who I read their posts and I'm like, oh, you moron, or like, oh, dude, like, come on.
Yeah, I only post
it's horrible. It makes you dislike people that you like in real life. It sucks.
And stupid jokes. Oh yeah, I haven't quite posted this. I shot this in the hospital. I finally found it.
I don't know if you can see that.
What does it say on it?
Cream labeled sanity.
So I will post that to my Facebook.
Oh my god, that's really funny. That's worth posting.
Yeah, it's an air freshener.
Okay.
All right, fellas. I will send you what's a good email to send? Let me stop my recording.
Oh yeah, send it
just in case you got it.
I guess I'll message it to you, but my personal email is probably the one that's going to get to us.
Okay.
So Luke_Summerhays@hotmail.com.
Okay, hold on one sec. Compose. Luke_